Alright, we are now just a few days away from UFC 294. I am done talking about the prime card. I know you guys in the comment section, some of you MMA fans haven't been happy. We are going to be covering UFC 294 and specifically the main event today. I'm going to make another video talking about Hamza Chimaev versus Kamaru Usman. But the main event is a fight that you guys know I was waiting for. I was excited for. I said make the rematch. I wanted it for Abu Dhabi way back in February. But today I told you guys we're going to be doing this. I'm going to be re-watching Islam Makhachev versus Alexander Volkanovski 1. And I'm going to just skim through it and tell you guys what are the main takeaways we can get from this fight to go into the rematch. And obviously, yes, the rematch, Volk did take it on short notice, so there might be a few things different. However, I think there's a lot of details in the fight that we could see that'll help us determine who will win, because as of right now, I'm not 100% sure. But before we get into that, I just want to remind you guys to hit the subscribe button, like, comment, and share. We're trying to hit 20K by the end of the year. You guys are the best fan base in MMA, so I know you guys are going to help me with that goal. And are you guys excited for UFC 294? Let me know in the comment section below, and I will reply to your comments. I want to hear your thoughts. Share the video and support, and yeah, let's just get into the first fight. All right, we're getting into it now. All right, so Islam Makhachev obviously was a very big favorite. If you guys will recall, nobody really gave Volkanovski a chance, including myself. But overall, yes, I'm going Islam Makhachev by decision. But I wouldn't be surprised if there's a stoppage in there either. I don't know. But I'm pretty confident in Islam, just because we've seen Volkanovski get taken down so much in the past, and Islam is a new level, and he's too big. I mean, Volk isn't really that big for featherweight, so. But I think overall this fight, I think Volkanovski did really well. I just think early on, and we're gonna see now, I think he had a lot of trouble with the range, trying to get down what he should do against Islam Makhachev. And plus, this was a new weight class, you know. I mean, Islam's a southpaw, he's a wrestler, he's way bigger. This was tough for Volkanovski to figure out at the first try, so I do think in the rematch he might be a little bit better. It might have already figured out his timing, or it might get it faster. I think if Volkanovski was just a bit taller, I think this would be a tougher matchup for Islam Makhachev. But it's just like Volkanovski doesn't know if he wants to go inside or if he wants to stay on the outside, because he's too short to be on the outside. Yet if he goes on the inside, he's gonna get taken down, so it's pretty interesting. And you see Volk, you know, trying to paw at that lead hand. And you know he's going to be switching stances too, trying to confuse Islam. So Volk staggers Islam there. But if you look at this combination, this is actually a combination that Volk catches Islam with later in the fight. And look, this is actually really well set up. So if you guys notice, normally people throw a 1-2, but Volk decides to throw a 2-1 to kind of throw off Islam. So look, if you see here, now, if you see here, look, you see he feinted with the back leg, landed the jab, and then because Islam's going back, he decides to do it close to the cage, and then it lands finally. You see, he got the timing down, and you see he's talking to him. And I think that just speaks to Volk's, you know, fight IQ, his timing, him just being able to read up on shots in real time, so that's going to help him in the matchup. And this is what Volk needs to do. Pressure is going to be very important. We're going to talk about that later on. But Volk needs to pressure Islam, especially against the cage. You can't have him out in the open like this, because right here, you know, Islam's just going to back out of range whenever Volkanovski throws. So it's important that he gets Islam's back behind the cage, because Islam's main defense is going backwards, right? If you watch this whole fight, every one of his defense is just going backwards, and he gets caught when he's against the fence. It's going to happen later on, and we're going to see it soon too. Oh, and then he drops Volkanovski. I forgot about that. He drops Volkanovski. Head kick almost lands like the Max Holloway head kick that landed. Very similar to the exchange with Max Holloway. I think it's obvious, right? Islam Makhachev's grappling is very elite, but I also think that this showed a lot of his striking and his distance management. Round 2. Nice kick to the body. I think Islam needs to add more kicks, because his kicks are pretty good. When he lands those kicks, they seem pretty good. And he is apparently a really good striker. Like, he just doesn't really go for the striking so much. We saw in Oliveira, you know, he outstruck Oliveira in the second round, knocked him down. Oh, nice. But you see, this is what Volkanovski does, man. Because of the fact that, you know, there is a reach disadvantage, right? He does usually stay on the outside and then blitz forward and win those moments, which, you know, obviously, look, it did well in this fight. However, I just think that's still very risky. And Volk in this fight, I don't like the overextending. He's about to get punished for it, actually, in about a minute or so. A lot's going to happen in this sequence. So, look, okay, first things first, if you guys will recall, I said how Volkanovski keeps trying to land that 2-1, you know, the right hand and then the jab behind it, landing the jab, staggering Islam Makhachev. But if you look here, Volkanovski's going to add something to it. You see, and then a leg kick at the end. And I like the leg kicks. Volkanovski was landing a lot of leg kicks. Islam did very well with the movement in this fight. So if you actually take away his legs, kick his legs, and make it harder for him to move, that's going to be easier for Volkanovski to get to that target. So I think you should definitely try to implement some leg kicks here. And if I'm him, I'm doing it from round 1. I mean, I'm slamming the legs into Islam's legs, and I think that'll definitely help him. Hard leg kicks. But as you see here, Volkanovski is about to get a little over ambitious. And look, you see this, look, so you get back in his stance, throws a right hand, leaves himself himself open. I wouldn't say necessarily overextends here. However, he does miss, and this is a perfect, we see Conor do this shot all the time as a southpaw, right? You throw the right hand, basically perfectly lined up for Islam to do what he's going to do, and he just hits him like that. Rocks Volkanovski. That is arguably the best shot of the whole fight. Really well timed from Islam, I gotta say. And I feel like here is where Volkanovski starts trying to put things together, and I feel like this is where he starts getting his timing near the end of round 2 going into round 3, because look, he's about to land a good shot again. Look, and you see a nice overhand. You see now he's going to end leg kick, boom. And then I think he lands something else, I believe. I took note of a nice body shot right there. That was it. You see, and he's just putting things together right here. And you see he just lands boom, boom, boom. And it's like finally he's getting the timing and countering Islam. And that's also maybe not such a bad idea, countering Islam, not going forward, as somebody that does have that size advantage. So I think the game plan's either you really got to pressure Islam, or you're going to have to counter him, or maybe you go back and forth and mix it up. But I think that there definitely should be more pressuring. So I think that this round is probably the deciding factor if you're going to give it to Volk or if you're going to give it to Islam. Some people say round 4, however, I think 4 is clearly Islam. I think you're kind of stretching it a little bit if you're going to give it a Volk. I get the argument, the damage, whatever, but this is where it comes down to. I go back and forth. I think I got to give it a Volk. Volk landed some good shots, but Islam landed a big shot, and that kind of was the difference maker. If Islam doesn't land that shot, I don't know, man. It might be Volk's round confirmed, but that was a good shot from Islam, though. I got to give him credit. Nice head kick. Head kicks might be there. And I think Islam should definitely add teeps to his arsenal. I feel like that would really help the distance, and that's something that you should do in the rematch. Teep kicks, I love those kicks. Great knee to the body, and Islam kept landing great knees this fight. And I think that is something that Volkanovski's going to have to look out for. And later on, when Islam lands them up top, yeah, that's devastating. We're going to get into the danger of that later. That's why even teeps could block the knees. Nice body kick once again from Islam. And I think Volk was just going too much at his pace here. I think you should try to push the pace a little bit more. Oh, nice. And those are important things as a fighter that you need to do to win rounds, right? A close round, just do stuff like that, because there were a lot of shots landed, and it looked like Islam was, trying to get away. It's not a good look for the judges. And Islam had a lot of moments, too. People forget on the feet, you know what I mean? And I said this, I'm not exactly the biggest Islam fan. I'm rooting for Volk going into the rematch. However, at the end of the day, we all said before this fight, we said, hey, if this is on the feet, Volkanovski wins. If it's on the ground, most likely Islam wins, and we all figured Islam was going to win by taking him down. However, here, essentially, Islam beat him at his own game. The fight stayed standing the majority of the time, and maybe that wasn't Islam's choice, and he still managed to win a very close decision, and maybe you could argue Volk had won. Islam, I think, in my opinion, is definitely a really good fighter, and I also want to talk about some of the weight cut stuff, because I do think that Islam did kind of suffer from a bad weight cut. It was in Australia. I know a lot of people don't like to hear this, and I don't either, because I am rooting for Volk, but it does seem like that he did suffer with some weight cutting issues, because his chin in this fight was unbelievably bad. Like, maybe he just has a bad chin. He got knocked out the one time. Alright, so I'm going to show you guys here. Remember, Volkanovski, remember his combination. Backhand, jab, and before it was a leg kick. Now, you see he caught the leg, and you see what he's doing? Sweeps the leg. You see what I mean? And mixing it up like that and being able to get those reads is what makes Volkanovski so good, right? Because there isn't really a pinpoint detail we could say, hey, Volkanovski has good wrestling, he has great striking. It's his ability to mix it up, his cardio, his gas tank. And then I think you got to give round 3 to Volkanovski pretty clear. But we're about to see why Volk struggles to get into range, because boom, like this, that could happen at any moment. Okay, and perfectly timed takedown. And look, Islam has the feet wrapped already. This is pretty deep, and Volkanovski's going to try to get his feet. Look, he gets his feet out because his legs are so short, but gives up his back in the process. That was just an amateur mistake. Giving up the back, going to your knees against a guy like Islam, big mistake from Volkanovski, and that's what, at the end of the day, really cost him the fight. And what I think is interesting about this is we're going to see him defend on his back, and I'm actually just going to speed this up as we're doing this. But we're going to see, you see, he's on the back the whole time, and what I'm curious about is how, his work with Craig Jones is going to play it. And look, I know a lot of people meme Craig Jones, when he's preparing for Islam, because yes, jiu-jitsu and wrestling are two different things. However, in these types of situations, having a guy like Craig Jones on your back can help you, and I'm sure that he's teaching Volkanovski the tricks, because I think at the end of the day, this is also another reason why, is that he didn't know how to get Islam off of his back. I feel like this is slowed down now that I'm watching at a regular speed, but we're getting to round 5, the best round of the fight. Great straight counter. We're going to see him. He's going to get back in his regular stance. Throw the leg kick. That's why you got to have your head a little bit off center when you throw those leg kicks, but that can be hard to do, so I understand. Great leg kick. You see just Volkanovski putting it together, a body shot behind it, putting Islam against the fence, and this is why he did really good this round. Ooh, but a knee up top and another straight. I feel like I'm watching this fight again, which I just remembered. I actually already have a reaction to this fight, so this is me rewatching the fight. So I actually have 2 reactions to the fight. I'm gonna put it on the screen because, yeah, you guys gotta go check that out. That's my initial reaction. But that knee that just landed for Islam, that's dangerous, okay? Like, Volkanovski is a shorter opponent, so the knees are gonna be there, and plus, Volkanovski does dip his head quite a lot, so the knees are gonna be there, and especially the accuracy of Islam Makhachev to land that left straight, I believe, after the knee, that is a potential knockout, okay? Like, Volkanovski, if he dips into that knee and gets hit with that, he's gonna go out, or he's at least gonna get very hurt. So if I'm Volkanovski, I'm watching out for that shot. If I'm his camp, I'm saying, yo, you almost got caught with that. That is tough, and practice not dipping the head down as much. And I think Islam really emptied the gas tank here. I mean, you can see he's really trying to get a takedown. I don't know if he just doesn't like the shots coming back at him. He's feeling tired, but something was going on. I don't know what was, but he all of a sudden was panicking to wrestle. You'll see that he shoots like 3 takedowns in the span of like a minute or something like that. And you see, look, pressure from Volk. You see, putting him against the fence, and you can tell Islam's exhausted here, man. He's like, oh, and that was like a failed takedown / knockdown. Clearly hurt Islam though. And yeah, and then this is the end of the fight where Volkanovski's going to be ground and pounding all the way. And yeah, and this was Volkanovski's big win / loss. It was a loss, but I think a lot of people gained respect for him. A lot of people realized how legit Volkanovski is, especially at lightweight, and I'm excited to see him come back this weekend. But that was the first Islam Makhachev and Alexander Volkanovski fight. Now, obviously, the point of this is predicting who is going to win, right? Islam Makhachev, Alexander Volkanovski, they're facing off this weekend, and this is a 5-round main event, which means it's dangerous that Volkanovski didn't really prepare. I'm still nervous about, number one, the mental side of things. Hopping into a big fight like this without that preparation, without getting confidence from your preparation, that can make you question some things. And already when Volkanovski wasn't pressuring Islam, I get scared of that. Another thing I want to bring up is, like I hinted at before, the possibility that Islam did just have a bad weight cut. Of course, we heard the rumors of the IV shortly after, and you know, it didn't really seem like there was any follow-ups on that, but it did seem like that there was some sort of issue with Islam Makhachev weight cut. I believe he weighed in pretty late, and Australia had very strict rules in terms of the weigh-in. How does Volkanovski win? How does Islam win? I think Volkanovski needs pressure, right? Put Islam against the fence or counter him. I say mix it up, do a little bit of both, but try to pressure Islam Makhachev so that cardio does drain, and maybe you can get him tired like he was in that 5th round, maybe a little bit earlier, maybe in the 4th round, maybe the 3rd. Pressure him and then land those shots, because Islam's main defense is going backwards, and I think that's what Islam needs to work on. I think that's a hole in his game, and it makes me wonder, what if a guy like Justin Gaethje is able to pressure Islam Makhachev and put him against the fence with his wrestling background? Another thing, leg kicks, man. I would be slamming Islam's legs as soon as the bell opens, because legs is where you're going to get your strength from, right? From the takedown, from the wrestling, from the positions, and just the movement too. You're going to slow down the movement of Islam so he's not moving back so much, and cutting off the octagon more importantly, man, because there's too many times Islam Makhachev was just circling out, getting back into the open, and Volkanovski was just in danger. He needs to pressure him. I'm telling you, pressure, and it sucks, because if he had a training camp, these were all things that I'd have more faith in that he would implement these types of things. However, he just hasn't been, right? He hasn't been sparring specifically for Islam Makhachev, specifically a southpaw that's as big and working on pressuring. Now, what does Islam need to do? All right, I think number one is the obvious: keep the distance. He was doing so good at distance, getting out of the way of shots, landing some of his own, landing some counters, even rocking Volkanovski. And I think he should add teeps to his arsenal. I mean, we haven't seen him throw a lot of teeps, but I think that is definitely a good weapon to keep Volkanovski at bay. And it's something just to add in from the old fight, so Volkanovski isn't expecting this, and he's like, okay, how do I now navigate between the teeps? And it'll even set up the knees too to the head. So I think teeps are definitely going to be very important for Islam Makhachev. If I'm his coach, I'm saying let's implement some teeps here and mix it up, because a lot of people don't give Islam credit, but he was doing very well on the feet with Volkanovski. He landed a lot of good shots, and I think you got to mix it up. I think, you know, preferably when Volkanovski's thinking striking, go for a takedown. When he's thinking grappling, land a shot. When he's thinking, oh, it's coming up top, land something into the bottom. You got to really confuse Volkanovski so he's not going to pressure you. And knees to the head. I said this already, man. We saw a big knee in round 5 land on Volkanovski. It seemed like it almost hurt him. Maybe set it up by, you know, feigning overhand, getting Volkanovski to dip his head, and then big knee up the middle, follow-up shots, and maybe you can even get a submission off a knockdown. But yeah, those are my keys to victory. But who do I think is going to win at the end of the day? Now, I told you guys I'm going to be rooting for Volkanovski. However, I'm gonna go with Islam Makhachev. It's tough. I think if this was a full camp, is it possible for Volk to win? 1000%. I could see Volkanovski winning. I could see him implementing these things because he is a very smart fighter. We could see him make changes on the fly. However, I think if we're talking statistically who is more likely to win, you gotta give Islam Makhachev. He just has so much finishing ability. I think he can finish it on the feet. But I see the fight going very similar to the first one, where Volkanovski has a lot of great moments. However, I think it's going to be very close once again. However, I think this time it'll be a little bit more dominant dominant from Islam, so I'm going to go with Islam Makhachev. I think I'm going to go by decision. I think he's going to get it by decision. I think he'll win 3 out of the 5 rounds, maybe 4 out of the 5 rounds, but I think it'll just be a lot more clearer than it was the last time. However, I can see a knockout because Volkanovski was getting clipped with shots, and also when you consider Volkanovski is the goddamn game cover of UFC 5, you can't go with him. So yeah, I'm going to go with Islam Makhachev. I think he's going to get it done, and I'm going to be rooting for Volkanovski. What a savage for taking it on short notice, but sadly, it just isn't how the world works. Yeah, I got Volkanovski, but let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. What did you guys think about the breakdown? What takeaways did you guys get from the first Islam Makhachev fight with Volkanovski that you're going to take into the rematch? I also broke down Charles Oliveira versus Islam Makhachev 1 about a couple weeks ago, and you guys should go check that out, even though that fight's not happening anymore. I broke down the first fight, brought up a lot of things in Islam's game that he has to work on. I made a lot of good points. Make sure to go check it out. Thank you guys for watching. You guys are the best fan base in MMA. Tune in. I'm going to be making a video about Kamaru Usman versus Hamza Chimaev. I also did a bunch of videos talking about the prime card, the Logan Paul KSI fight over the past weekend. Tune in for that. Thank you guys for watching. You guys are the best fan base in MMA, and I'll see you guys in the next one.